It's a place few will ever see firsthand. 3 kilometers out into the Atlantic, a complex network of burrowed tunnels. The Donkin mine off eastern Cape Breton Island is the world's only operating subsea coal mine. 180 meters down below the ocean floor. Like so many coal mines, a labyrinth of roads that resemble a small, albeit dark city. So complex you need a map to get around the passageways, scarcely as wide as a narrow street. Until recently, 130 miners desperate for good-paying jobs were cutting carbon-emitting coal like their grandfathers before them from a seam that could take them more than 30 years to fully exploit. Now, a string of safety violations and potentially deadly roof collapses threaten lives and the very future of the mine. Over the years, the mine has been shut down again and again, and some argue in this climate change era, this time it should stay closed. Therein lies the Donkin dilemma. The village of Donkin knows hard times, built by proud generations of miners who accepted the risk of going underground, a gamble some of them lost. People like A.J. Hall's father.
This is a picture, one of the few pictures I have of my dad.
How old is he there now?
I'm going to say he's in his early 30s.
Hall's father died in a Cape Breton mining disaster back in 1979, one of a dozen men to perish.
No man who ever goes into the pit again will have to fear that something like this will ever happen.
A.J. himself would have a close call underground at Donkin. Last July, the roof of the entrance tunnel caved in, the second such collapse in a week, which is what led to the latest shutdown of the mine.
By the time I met up with my crew, they were just then getting everybody out. I probably missed that fall only by 5 or 10 minutes, but that's still not enough to scare me to not go to work.
But some people are terrified that there's going to be an accident at that mine.
There's always going to be accidents. This day and age, you need to make money to live. You have to have a job, you have to have money coming in. So I should be the one that decides what's safe and what's not.
Well, underground coal mining is a very hazardous industry.
To this day, the mine remains closed. Safety at the Donkin mine is the biggest file on Scott Noss's desk at the Department of Labor, where they're tasked with keeping workplaces safe in Nova Scotia.
I can say that the Donkin mine is inspected, the most frequently of any workplace in Nova Scotia. We have set a very high standard, industry best practices, both from the industry perspective as well as the mine engineering perspective, and we regularly ensure that the mine is meeting those standards.
What appears to be a very significant explosion occurred in the underground operations at the Westray coal mine.
Safety concerns in coal mines run deep in Nova Scotia. On May 9, 1992, a massive underground methane explosion killed 26 coal miners at another mine, Westray. Inadequate ventilation failed to keep the deadly gas at bay, leading to the blast. The company was blamed for rushing production over safety. At the time, some said Nova Scotians would never go underground again.
I don't think any other job I ever had. I went to work wondering whether I was going to come home that night.
Donkin was first dug in the 1980s by the federal government, but never operated because of low prices at the time. The mine was eventually bought by American Chris Klein, described as a flashy billionaire, one of the last coal tycoons. By 2017, he had formed Cameron Coal, a company named for his daughter, and was pushing hard to extract coal. Coal prices were beginning to rise, and if there was money to be made, James Edwards, deputy mayor of Cape Breton Regional Municipality and a community liaison with Cameron Coal, says his community wanted a piece of it.
The industry is there, the product is there, an international developer pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the Cape Breton economy. With the 150 jobs, they're making $35, $40 an hour. So you've got a payroll of $10, $11 million a year. I mean, that's nice money.
The Department of Labor eventually approved the opening of Donkin. The company hired a former manager of the West Virginia mine that was the site of the deadliest explosion in recent U.S. history. He eventually resigned, but it led to questions about Cameron Coal's commitment to safety at the Cape Breton mine. Gary Ty unsuccessfully tried to unionize the workers at Donkin.
The company definitely did not instill a safety culture at the mine. They cut corners. They did not put proper training in place. They did not maintain proper safe working conditions.
3 weeks into production, a discovery. Turns out the company did not have adequate ventilation to safely handle the methane gas, and the province shut the mine down. Gary Ty asks, how was the mine allowed to open in the first place?
That is an extremely dangerous situation. You're not rendering the methane harmless. You are creating the conditions that could cause a catastrophic explosion, such as was seen at Westray.
That mine did operate for 3 weeks with that substandard ventilation system. Was that an oversight?
Well, I wouldn't say it was an oversight, but as the regulator, we were not aware of that.
When the company fixed the problem and reopened, the list of warnings and violations soon grew. Roof falls became more common. It seemed nothing was going Donkin's way. In 2019, Chris Klein and his daughter Cameron died in a helicopter crash in the Bahamas. And a few months later, after another stop work order, Cameron Coal closed the Donkin mine, citing ongoing roof falls and costly closures. It said its decision was final. There was relief from those who had long argued Nova Scotia should put coal mining in its past and go green, not mine dirty coal. People like Mi'kmaq activist and environmentalist Elizabeth Marshall.
I don't believe in polluting and creating pollution just so somebody could make some money. It's not worth it. And in this instance, in this case, that appears to be what it's all about. It's just the coal mining company wants to earn a few bucks.
But 2 years later, the global price of coal roughly tripled. Cameron Coal had already put a lot of money into the Donkin mine. Extracting more coal was the only way to get it back. The province gave the company permission to reopen the mine.
They want to take that coal out of that mine.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. It's money. It's like it may as well be gold.
Lucrative indeed. Even the Mi'kmaq chiefs wanted a piece of the action, signing a royalty agreement with Cameron Coal to mine the coal and put money in the band's coffers. But those roof falls last July, including the one the day A.J. Hall was working, has given the Department of Labor more reason for concern.
Yeah, my reaction was, instant concern for the miners and their families. It could have been a serious situation had miners been traveling in that area at the time of the rockfall.
After the department shut down the mine, a company consultant determined humidity was a key factor causing the roof falls, something the department admitted fell outside the area of expertise of its inspectors. It's since hired its own expert to confirm this.
Was it responsible of the province to allow Donkin to operate if your department didn't have the in-house expertise already for a subsea coal mine?
Well, underground coal mining is a very complex work environment. These resources are not easy to procure. But that said, that is why we've used the method of having some great in-house resources, experienced in coal mining, and then procure experts when needed.
The province is allowing the mine to operate during the low humidity of winter. And while it did not agree to an interview, we know the company has filed its latest safety plan to operate year-round at Donkin. The province is now considering this.
So, Mr. Premier, we need your help.
Since the latest closure, some miners rallied to put pressure on the government to improve the inspection process, to get the mine operating more quickly after a shutdown.
If another situation happens in the event that they do reopen, that they want it addressed sooner, and they don't want to be closed down for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So what's the problem?
But no one wants another Westray or another mining disaster on their watch.
Well, and you know what? You just said it too, that Westray has been the elephant in the room with this mine forever. And I'm told that it's apples and oranges by miners and mining inspectors alike, that this mine is nothing like the operation at Westray.
You've never felt political pressure of any kind then?
No, as a safety branch, we are, as a regulator, it's a very important responsibility, and we make sure that we fulfill our duties.
There have been 32 significant roof falls at the Donkin mine, hundreds of warnings, compliance orders, and penalties issued, too many for Gary Tye's liking.
The number of them and some of the things that are going wrong tells me there is going to be something catastrophic happen there. There's very good high probability of having some fatalities.
This is the new monument they put up to commemorate all the miners that had lost their lives in 26 back in 1979.
A.J. Hall says he understands the risk, but still feels safe in the mine and wants to go back full time.
That's where you carry your sandwich and your coffee, and
That represents your dad's.
yeah, that's my dad's.
Do you ever think of your father when you're down there?
I think every day I went down, that's what I thought of. And it was more like, Dad, I'm doing what you did. I hope you're, proud, and hopefully we can keep going. And I think that's what bothers me about this. No one got hurt in this fall, but yet it's one of the longest shutdowns ever in history of a work stop order.
Tom Murphy, CBC News, Donkin, Nova Scotia.